Oh,
Then I got to send it to Facebook. So hang on just a second.
all right. Won't say anything bad.
Just Mr. Hewitt, he's always on, if I remember correctly.
That's right. They are.
I told you I was watching.
I dig it. I appreciate that. It's funny how many people actually go back and watch some of the old ones too, because every now and then we'll go back and look, and I'll see added numbers, and it's like, oh, okay, we've had a few more watches, but I appreciate you doing a little recon on that.
Yeah, of course.
All right, got it. Live streamed. We are now.
Hewitt, you got to get some East Side wines. What's up with that?
What?
No love for East Side Paso.
Oh, come on now, Steve. You gotta get yourself a few of these wines. We'll be talking about these wines and these particular producers here pretty soon. I think what's an interesting dynamic is that even though these producers are located on the east side, so many of them source fruit from all over, including the west side. I think sometimes we even refer to places like Tobin James as being the furthest east side, west side winery or something of that sort because of the fact that they source most of their fruit from over on the west side of the Salinas River and all. So I got a chuckle out of Lance on that one. Well, let's give Facebook a little chance to catch up to us so they can get a few numbers up. But it looks like we've got a few many participants over on this side of things, so that's fantastic. All right, right on. Thanks everyone for joining us. I know we took a couple of weeks off, and that's what we're going to be doing right now. We're also in the middle of harvest, and so many people are so busy during this time, including myself. I bring in a little fruit here and there sometimes, so we need to obviously watch and see how harvest is going, but and we'll give you some updates as well. Which I can do actually right now while we're waiting, while we're getting some people going. Everybody is bringing fruit in. I hope that's the case for you, Chris, Houston, and Lance. You guys are all bringing in fruit, I'm going to assume. But if you go to our Instagram, we are doing our best to this year make sure we are documenting everybody's posts because everybody on social media right now is doing that. And so as long as if you're watching and you're one of our wineries, always tag us at Paso Wine if you are, and that's singular, at Paso Wine. If you're on Instagram, if you're on the old Facebook, that's at Paso Robles Wine. But I think these days, really, all that sharing and everything happens really over on the Instagram side of things. So make sure you do that. And I know we've definitely transitioned. I think the last time we were on, we were talking about some brands bringing in some mostly white grapes, but we've definitely transitioned to red grapes at this point in time. So everybody, I'm getting a nod from everybody on that. So, and we still got time to go. We've got a cool, kind of a cool down period here happening where things are going from the upper 90s to, I think it might only be 80 outside. I don't know. It's pretty nice out there. But it's definitely going to help lengthen a few things and slow things down so tank space can probably catch up to itself. So right on. I think we've had a little bit of time here so we can get going. Today's conversation, what are we talking about on the Paso Wine Hour? We're talking about Highway 46 East. It's kind of the OG of wine trails when it comes to Paso wine. And so I have three brands on today that I'm going to have introduce themselves here in just a second. We're going to talk about 46 East, but we're going to do the Paso Wine Hour thing. We're going to drink some wine. We're going to get the backstories on these guys. We're going to talk about wine. We're going to talk about whatever actually ends up coming up. Who knows? I don't know. But that's what we're going to start off doing is talking about 46 East because these guys are all on that corridor. And it is a historic piece of what makes up Paso as far as a tourism element. So let's get going on introducing the panelists. I'd like to start with Houston Smith over at Robert Hall. Hey, Houston.
Hey, guys. Welcome. As Chris said, my name is Houston. I'm the hospitality manager here at Robert Hall Winery. We are 1999 is our first estate planting of vineyards. The property was purchased in 98. So very much been here quite a while. Love having you guys come by and stop by the winery and saying hi. We produce a whole set of Rhone and Bordeaux varieties, specifically known for our Cabernets. So whenever you come on out, please feel free to say hi or ask for me. I want to come out and shake your hand and thank you for being here and joining us in Paso Robles.
Cool. Awesome. And Chris Blake, one of the newer buildings over there on Highway 46 East.
Yeah, no, glad to be here. We sit right in between these two fine gentlemen. So from Paris Valley Road Estate Winery, newest brand, a winery on the corridor and operating in one of the oldest buildings. And so pretty cool to be operating the original RCR winery here on 46 East. But we opened our doors last October. So we're approaching our very 1 year mark of being open over here, and glad to be joining what's happening over here on 46 East. So looking forward to the conversation we have today.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I kind of misspoke there. I think I was kind of meaning the fact that you guys just renovated, and that's like the newest of kind of buildings. But yeah, you have probably one of the most historic properties that exist in Paso, and we'll get to that here in just a second. And we got Lance Silver, Tobin James, buddy of mine. Hey, Lance, welcome.
Hey, great to be on. Thanks.
Awesome. And Tobin
Yeah.
James, established and all that.
Yeah, well, I'm Lance, and myself and my wife, Claire, we co-own the winery with Tobin James. Claire and I do all the heavy lifting. Toby gets to have his name on the bottle and do autograph. Have it any other way. We are also, I don't have to hump hose anymore. The winery's gotten big enough where we're not way smarter than me to make the wine. So Claire and I still do all the blending, the final selections. I work with the vineyards a little bit, have all the barrel regimens. And I can't let go. The wines have to taste the way I want them to still taste. Tobin James Cellars itself, we're celebrating our 35th anniversary.
35th.
35. Well, the label 35. The facility opened 30 years ago. So got a couple of nice milestones that we're celebrating. And we like to brand ourselves. We have no marketing department, public relations firm, no sales outside people. We just like to brand ourselves as we're the most famous winery nobody has ever heard of.
Hey, Lance, we're having your mic come in and out a little bit. I don't know if tech department can help you out with that, or if you get it closer.
Yeah, that's known as Claire.
Exactly.
All right.
So, in other words, Claire,
I fix this to bring it closer, so I don't.
that should hopefully work, and we'll let you know as we go. So 46 East. This is, if you've been to Paso, you kind of know this is that thoroughfare that connects us to the kind of the Central Valley, if you will. It's that piece of road that is that piece that connects 101 to Highway 5. Those are the two big highways in California. So if you're out of the area, that go up and down the state. And there's quite the population, of course, that lives over in the Eastern Valley and if you will, of California that come over this way to get over to the coast. And 46 is their way. And traditionally, that's kind of the way it was, is that you would come across that way, maybe stop in Paso, get a little gas and a snack, and go right or left on Highway 101, or keep going and go out to the coast or something of that sort, maybe go out to the lakes. But early on, if you look back on our history of like 1983 actually was when we were established as an AVA. We had 17 wineries back then and about 5,000 vineyard acres. Back then, there were a few tasting rooms here and there, and a couple out there on Highway 46 East, of course. But it wasn't until a little bit later, really, that we started to really gain in some popularity. But there were still tasting rooms. There were still ways of getting Paso wine back then, even before then. And really, most of it was along that road of Highway 46 East. I know, actually, as a matter of fact, my own little bit of a story here is that when we were living in Southern California as a kid, we'd visit some relatives up in San Jose. And so we'd come up Highway 5 from down south. We'd cut across 46, and we would, see some vineyards and see some things, and then head to Highway 101 and make our way north up to San Jose. That was kind of the way we went. Years later, as my parents were doing it, and they would see actually Tobin James, popped in there a couple time or two and got a bottle of wine here and there over the years. And then later on, when I moved here, they were like, "Wait, that place, that one?" Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, that's where I moved to. I moved to Paso." And it's like, "Oh, no way, okay." And then once they came to visit, we took them back out there, and they're like, "Wow, okay, yeah, this place has changed a little bit." And we went out to Tobin James. They're like, "Hey, this place is cool," you know. So you know, and you've heard it, and that's just. But when you look at Paso's history, 46 East, I would say, is kind of the beginnings of this kind of tourism model, if you will, of enticing people off the road to hopefully pick up some wine to take it to maybe their end destination or eventually stick around. Lance, let's talk to you first about that. Toby established, I think, that place there and everything. But let's talk about, though, a little of the history of why 46 East, why that location, especially where it is. I mean, it's the first thing you see when you hit Paso.
I mean, back 32, 33 years ago. I mean, this was a happy accident for Toby. We're 8 miles down, and today 8 miles is nothing. But back then, I think the closest winery to us, Meridian, was there about 2 miles from us, and Everly was about 4 or 5 miles. So we were definitely the farthest out winery. And when Toby first bought the property, Claire and I became partners a couple of years after that. Gary Everly told him, Toby, you're going to be selling that property for 10 cents on the dollar in a couple of years. You're going to go out of business being out there. Toby was like, well, I only paid $1 for it, so it didn't really matter. So, I mean, we really there was nothing here. And it was the only thing that we could afford when we started. We didn't come from any other businesses with money. We started as winemakers, and he used his credit card and a couple of buddies that got out of a few bucks when they were drunk. And Tobin James Cellars was born. And we'll never forget the very first customer that pulled in. He was a bead salesman coming into town, travels to States. And he pulled in and he bought 8 cases of wine. And Toby just laughed and said, I guess we will still be in business in a few years. And on the
8 cases.
On the 25th anniversary of that opening day, we invited our Doug, our first customer, we invited him back, and we had dinner, and he bought 8 more cases that day.
That's awesome. That location is so iconic because it truly is. You come up and over a hill and you start kind of dropping into what would be the Paso AVA, even though it starts further out from that, out near Shandon. But you drop down that hill and that's all of a sudden you're seeing Paso, you're seeing the mountain range and all of that. And it's oftentimes the first and last stop, right?
Yeah, it is. And that's really worked it's a great advantage for us that we get to see people coming in. And then a lot of times they'll book a tasting on their way out of town too. So it's been great. It's being on the highway. That was one of the first things when I met Toby was I said, what are your thoughts about Paso, seaside, west side, on the highway, off the highway? Where's the place to be? Where's the best grapes coming from? And there's no easy answer to that. And the fact that he is on the highway, we certainly see and have an opportunity to see so many more people that, like you mentioned, they're coming over the hill with the first thing they see, and we hope we get a chance for some wine for them.
Yeah. Now,
It's
did you
actually
plant
funny.
vineyards or anything did that go into the thought process too, or was it just all about production, location, and all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, originally we planted about 20 acres we have 100 acres. We have a mile of freeway frontage. And, it was like, we quickly found out that, it's way better to source someone else's grapes that has an 80-year-old limestone, Syrah vineyard. I can't grow an 80-year-old. My grandkids wouldn't have an 80-year-old vineyard if I planted one today. And that's the best thing about Paso Robles is we have the exact number, 200, 400 different growers here that are probably part of your association. There's probably several hundred more. So there's just an infinite amount of sources to find the best fruit, or at least what suits the kind of winemaking that any winemaker wants to do. And so we kind of just kept those 20 acres.
didn't expand on it, and just love going out and finding funky 5-acre, 10-acre vineyards here or there where the grower treats the grapes like they're his children.
Yeah, that's cool. We got a comment here. Paul Maynard says the first tasting of Tobin James was outside of his garage in downtown Paso before the tasting room opened on East 46. That's pretty cool. Hey, Chris Blake, so you guys, talk about older and established buildings. I mean, the Arciero brothers years ago, these guys were known for, what were they known for? They were building a lot of interesting stuff many years ago, like shopping centers or something like that, I think it was. And then they got into the vine business, built that huge winery out there, plus a little tasting room. I remember going in there and there being when EOS took it over or became it or whatever, they had a race car in there. And I think this is the building you're in now. But talk a little bit about that history, if you would, and kind of how Paris Valley Road came to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a pretty, fun and privileged property to be a part of over here on 46 East. I live out here on the east side, so for countless years, I've driven home and I drive by it every day, coming in and out of town. And so, a few years, the building itself, really, one of the oldest over on the east side. Frank and Phil Arciero, came over from Italy in 1937, just before the war broke out. Their dad, got them over here to the U.S. And really, in essence, kind of the American dream came true for the Arciero brothers. I mean, they truly started digging ditches and worked their way up, got a few pieces of construction equipment, and then, paved, in a post-World War II era, they paved, California. And they were concrete and paving contractors and went to town. So grew like crazy, and they were always a big racing family. So I mean, how many folks have come by our property since we opened and be like, hey, you guys still got the race cars? We're like, no race cars, but oh man, we still come and see those all the time. We love them. And so, pretty neat in the lineage. But they opened their doors here at this place in 1986. And like I said, Frank and Phil had both grown up in Italy, and they grew up in the shadow of a monastery there called Monte Cassino. And truly, the monastery has this wild history that goes back to 500 AD. I mean, it was getting raided by the Turks and it got invaded by Napoleon. But anyway, always in the shadow of this monastery is what they built, kind of that back building on our property, that production building, to mimic that monastery, Monte Cassino, with that little bell tower that sat right up and kind of on the center of the building. So neat stories, Frank and Phil, they were full of life, guys. They got lots of stories, I don't even know anymore which ones are true and which one aren't, but I love them all. So I just keep telling them because people just keep coming in with more and more stories of their time here and the tasting here and the encounters here. And now we got a chance about 3 years ago to take on the building and this property, and man, what a gift. And so, we put a little work into it, and we opened Paris Valley Road Estate Winery last October. And that is, we're new here, not our first rodeo. Like I said, we owned by Craig and Nancy Stoller, and they also have Sextant Wines as well over on the west side. So not new to the business, but new here, and a great story in there, right? That goes all the way back to kind of the mid 70s, and but really excited for what lies ahead. And kind of the brand and story just comes from the very first vineyard that the Stollers planted in 1995 was on a little dirt road called Paris Valley Road, and so that's where the name.
Oh, that's where the name comes from.
I asked the same question when I went and saw Chris last month. I was like, where does the name come from? And he's like, do you remember that road just towards King City called Paris Valley? I'm like, yep. He told me the whole story. So I verified it.
Yeah, Craig and Dana Merrill planted a vineyard up there in 1995, and they sold fruit to the Mondavis for a long time out of that vineyard, long before Craig decided to jump into the wine business in the early 2000s. And so kind of goes all the way back there. So no, we're really excited. Like I said, we're just getting warmed up. We got a lot of catching up to do to y'all who've been over here for a long time, but glad to be a part of it. Really think that we're, wanting to really, join these other, join Robert Hall, join Tobin James, join everybody else on really making something special over here on the east side.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to ask an obvious question here, but when it came time for Craig and Nancy to purchase this property, I mean, it comes with an impressive building in the back and an impressive large space for storage and for production and, all that kind of stuff. But how much thought was given into the location as far as this main thoroughfare that millions of cars travel on annually?
Oh yeah, I mean, if the old adage location has any element of truth, we were part of it. Obviously, operating other properties in on the Central Coast, we knew how important that was. And that was really the driver that got us over here was the production space. We were getting pretty production locked over at Sexton, and we needed some more space. Now, did we need this much? No, who's to say? But we got plenty now. We're good. We got lots of production space back there. And then it came with this tasting room. Yeah. And so, we were very excited about that. And obviously, right, looking at 46 going right across in front of me and the countless amount of cars. And that was a great opportunity, as far as just apparently having some people coming by, obviously, operating back there, but this space. And we haven't done much of the back production building, but that front space we've completely got to renovate. And, we really hope that, kind of folks as they turn in and join us. But no, we were really excited about the location.
I have to say is, for all three of these properties, when you go to them, whether you're inside or outside, you have no idea that one of the main thoroughfares in California, one of the busiest ones for that matter, are just a stone's throw out the doors or around the corner or whatever it is, and down the driveway or up the driveway, because the way all of them have their hospitality put together, it's really like you're completely taken away. You're completely enthralled into who they are as a winery and as a personality of a winery. Robert Hall, I'm going to get on over to you, Houston. I got to tell you, back in, I think it was 01, was it 01? Oh, no, 03, I came here, I was the director of tourism, and I was asked to cut a ribbon out at Robert Hall for, I guess, there was a ribbon cutting out at Robert Hall. I guess it was the new building that was just built and all. And I just moved to Paso. I had no idea. I show up, I came from Monterey, where it's cold. It's like always winter up there. Not to disparage them. I love that, actually, to be honest. But it's always cold up there. So I'm wearing this woolen suit, and it's, so out of place for Paso with a tie and everything. And I'm here cutting a ribbon. I have to say a few words about this place. And this is one of my first official capacity things that I had done as this new director of tourism for Paso. And I just stuck out so much. And I remember Robert coming up to me, looking at me a little funny, and like, here's this, this man kind of like, who the heck are you? And why are you in a suit? And he didn't need to say it. He looked it. He looked at me and like, you are not from Paso, are you?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But over the years, of course, I've fit in. But I've had such a neat and great amount of time visiting Robert Hall, seeing its transformation over time as well. It's a great property. And Houston, I know you've been there since June, I think it is.
Yeah, I'm relatively back new to Robert Hall, but I think that's also emulates where Robert Hall is as a brand currently, is a new beginning per se. We'll start originally, the property was purchased in '98. Robert himself, he was a sort of a self-made, hardworking man out of Minneapolis. He built bowling alleys and restaurants and things of that nature in construction. He actually worked on the Mall of America. And at one point he was traveling with his wife in the Rhone Valley of France. And, they decided that it was time to chase their dream. And they searched up and down California. And to the point of what Chris was saying, and you were saying about the double Chris's. It's hard to say the Chris and then the other one because it's the double Chris's. Location. I was actually just talking to Don Brady, our winemaker for 21 years, 2001 to now. He was saying that Robert chose this spot because of where it was on the 46 East. He loved the ability to have the access to the highway, to have access to all the people that travel through, and the opportunity to have a wonderful estate property here is partly why he chose. And of course, it was for sale. That was always step one. But, he was a man of vision. And so one of the first things he built was a 17,000 square foot cavern. and not a winery building, not a hospitality center. He built the Cavern for barrel storage is the very first thing he built. And, it stores roughly 4,000 barrels, mixed throughout, which is a lot of wine, and definitely not the amount of wine he was making day one. But it was a vision of his to know what could happen because of 46 East and the highway and how busy it was. And he looked at, people like Tobin. He looked at Gary's places and said, and Meridian, and said, you know what, there's room for growth. And Arciero even before Paris. And so the property was purchased in 1999. The first vineyard was planted, a wonderful 1.5 acre Cabernet parcel on the east side here of Paso and even on the east side of the property. And today we've grown to 173 acres planted as an estate. That's not all right here on property. We have a vineyard out off of Jardine Road, if you know, obviously for those who aren't listening, Jardines here on the east side in the Estrella District. We have our Hall Ranch property out there that is the primary source of most of our estate fruit. But the property has grown immensely. The main facility, winemaking facility, and then the hospitality center, which in its own accord is quite an architectural piece. It's a masonry structure that when you walk up to it, you might even feel like you're in the Midwest. Well, it's because Robert was a man from Minneapolis and he loved masonry. And so this big brick building has sort of become iconic to who we are. For myself, being here a short time, I can definitely tell you the amount of members and people that come in and go, Robert, this, and do you remember this? And, the property. And I remember that tree used to be about this tall and it's grown so much. And it's, it's such a wonderful feeling to have that emotional response that people have for an attachment to place. And it speaks to Paso Robles as a whole. It speaks to Eastside Paso. We're in the Geneseo District, and Chris, this actually comes from you. I was reading some of your history of the Geneseo District on PasoWine.com, where the Ernst family came from Geneseo, Illinois. Mm-hmm. And so there was an advertisement in Geneseo, Illinois that encouraged families to come out here. And so this area was known as Geneseo. And of course, Geneseo, Illinois was known for Geneseo, New York, and the Iroquois word sort of for beautiful valley and beautiful area. And it really is gorgeous. Eastside Paso, nothing to take away from Westside Paso and mountains, but the rolling agricultural pastoral land is so wonderful. It's this beautiful pastoral just landscape. And actually back to the thing about Lance and Tobin, my wife and I, whenever we road trip, when we turn that corner, we don't say we're home until we see Tobin James, right? Until we see the building is when we go, we're home, right? Because it's sort of the entrance to the east side of Paso. And you break the corridor there and you come up the hill and up and over and you're like, all right, now I'm home. But Robert Hall feels that way. There's an emotional response I get from walking onto this property because you can feel that it is immensely Paso Robles. There is a hardworking pioneer aspect to the property that has been driven by years of hard work that you can just go, there's a lot of respect here for the land, for what people put into property and put into viticulture and agriculture and giving back to community. And it's so wonderful to be a part of that. One thing people don't know, funny enough, is that, and it's sort of sad, is that Robert himself passed away in 2014. And his wife, Margaret, wanted to sell the property, but she only wanted to sell it to a California family winery. And O'Neill Vintners and Distillers, who I work for, came in and purchased the property, and they are revitalizing life into the brand and into this property under a whole new level. If you're not familiar with O'Neill, I beg of you to go check them out. They are an amazing family. Jeff O'Neill was actually nominated and won the most innovative wine guy of the year, wine business of the year. The eco-consciousness of the brand is what really attracts me. We're pushing very hard for sustainability. We actually are on property 100% estate grown California sustainable agriculture. We are working with all of our sourced growers so that they're all 100% sustainable growers, and we're trying to help them get to that certification. And then the other big thing we're working on currently, multiple projects. One, we have a solar installation happening right now. We have a wastewater facility happening on property so that we can start controlling our own wastewater. And then we have a or what's called regenerative agricultural vineyard. That's actually the largest case study in the world of regen viticulture happening on property. It's a 40-acre parcel, working with Philippe Armandier from Domaine Marcot in France, who's the leading consultant on biodiversity. And the whole concept is to reinvigorate the soils, to reinvigorate not only life into the brand, but into this parcel of earth, and to be a steward of eco consciousness for Paso Robles and for the brand. And all of these things are so exciting. I can't wait to tell people in 3 years, look what we've done, look what, has come into fruition, because I think really where Robert Hall is going is what Robert Hall himself would have loved to see it achieve, and we're so excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's cool. We've been able to see a lot of these kind of changes, and I think I commented to you on the side, Houston, to see how Robert Hall as a brand is getting so much more active. And there's not to say that they weren't, but I think that there was so much going on, and then when Robert passed away, there was just a big transition, and now to see things happening there, and this regenerative project that actually I have a group of journalists coming in next week.
Oh, okay, cool.
Going and visiting Robert Hall because it's such an interesting case study that's happening out there that we'd like to share with them. And so it's a pretty neat thing to have happening. We do have the very first, and so this is a shout out for Paso, everybody. But we have the first 100% certified regenerative organic property, vineyard, everything in Paso Robles in the world, and that's out at Tablas Creek.
Tablas Creek, yep.
Yep. And now we've got Robert Hall deciding to do this live study, making it completely transparent and open for people to see how you can go from conventional farming into regenerative farming, which again, pretty friggin' cool. And I think we could look at all of these brands. Okay, I'm selling you on Paso. You're already here. Why am I doing that? But you could look at all three of these brands, and you're going to find something that they're doing that is really friggin' cool that's happening right here in Paso. And it's just a testament to, I suppose, who we are, because we're right here in the middle, and we've got San Francisco to the north, LA to the south. We've always been this kind of dividing line, if you will, between Southern California and Northern California. So we've always had to kind of do things ourselves, and it's neat to see that spirit is still living on even now, even though things in commerce and transportation and technology and communications has all advanced so far forward. We're still doing things our own way, which is awesome. I want to go back in time a little bit, though, for just a quick second here. Lance, at some point in time, you saw other brands starting to establish along 46 East. That had to, for you anyway, be like, oh, okay, awesome. There's a critical mass, But I think what people are missing is that it's not just 46 East as the road itself, but there's little roads that go off of it that get you off that main highway. I mean, when the Gluns brothers moved in next door, or with Paris, I mean, talk a little bit about seeing kind of the evolution of Paso and how it grew over there.
First, both Chris and Houston mentioned the Arciero brothers and Robert, and I could spend the next 4 hours telling you stories about both the Arcieros and Robert. I had the great privilege to be able to spend a lot of time with them, because back in those days, in the infancy of we really were an all for one, one for all. If someone's filter broke down during harvest, we throw ours, during bottling, we throw ours on the back of the truck and get over there and help them get through bottling. That just was the way it was. We were, I think, the 19th bonded winery. And I mean, Robert Hall came in with his first grapes, came to our winery dressed in the dirtiest pair of jeans you could imagine, and an old dusty flannel shirt. Said, hey, can I buy a couple of barrels? And we had no idea who he was. And I got a ranch up the road, and so we found out who he was. We just gave him, 3 or 4 barrels, and that's what he needed to make his first wine. So the very first wine was 4 of Tobin James's used barrels. And he left, and we went, I don't know, what was Robert Hall? I think he started that menswear clothing store. No, but we found out. And Yeah, I mean, we went to his house, and he was so proud. He laid out the blueprints in his kitchen table of what he was going to build. And he wanted our opinions, and I mean, it's been really fun. And yeah, when we were here, there was, like I mentioned, Meridian, Arciero, Martin Brothers,
Gary.
and Gary, of course, Gary.
Yeah, of course, Gary. And
yeah,
the Steinbecks, right? Didn't the Steinbecks, weren't the Steinbecks here
No,
back then as
no,
well? Not
Yeah,
yet.
they were growing, but they didn't.
They were growing, but not a winery. Right.
Right. Yeah, and we've had their fruit in a few times, and it's gotten really exciting. Like you mentioned, the wineries that have come on. Cass Winery has become a destination. You've got Scoterra out here, and so now it's it used to be where there was just 3 or 4 wineries on the east side where were must-see wineries, and it's wonderful that we've become. People now, if they're coming wine tasting, they have to make a choice. Do they want to spend the day on the east side or on the west side? And it is, you can do both, but it's a lot better if you can do one day on each.
You got to do both. You got to do, I mean, if I were to give anybody any advice, it would probably be you got to spend at minimum 3 days, because you're going to do a bit of a wine trail that might take you over east of the river. You're going to do a bit of a wine trail that'll take you west of the river into the mountains. And then you might want to do a little downtown or a little Tin City.
Yeah, I agree. It's about the same thing, I would think.
The difference with Paso Robles, I think, is, we grow so many different grapes here. This is one of, I think, the most versatile area for what you can grow here. There's almost nothing that doesn't do great here, farmed the right way. And so as a result, you end up, we started as a winery making 4 different wines. Now we make 40. So when you walk into our tasting room, and I know everybody's the same way now, because somebody offers you Nebbiolo and you go, I don't make Nebbiolo. Well, let me try. And you, wow, Nebbiolo does do really well in Paso. So things like that.
Yeah.
So when you are wine tasting, it's not like Napa where it's 2 or 3 offerings and you move on your way. You can hit 6 or 7 wineries in a day. You can only do 3, maybe 4 wineries here in Paso. We all have so many wonderful wines to go off.
Yeah. You guys probably, Chris, I mean, talk a little bit about the referral thing. I mean, you've also been over at Sexton, and you kind of understand, how that works over there on Highway 46 West. But you guys, I mean, that's kind of the lifeblood, right? Is referring people to one another.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's what, we for the first weeks were open, we, threw a bunch of wine in the back of the trunk, and we drove up and down 46 and stopped by and visited everybody. And we came off the property and took a right and started at the end down at Tobin, and we just worked our way back into town. And
see, that's how you do it. That's Paso right there, right?
That's right. Yeah, we
be
just
cool. Be cool and go to your neighbors and share a little bit of what it is that you do. I dig that, man. That's rad.
That's what I tell all inexperienced wine tasters. Start at the farthest winery from town and taste your way towards town. So when you're done, you're almost home.
That's right.
That's smart advice right there. Well, Chris, let's say, I'm going to say Toronto because it's so much easier for me to say Toronto.
That's fine.
It's funny because it's true. Like, as Lance said with the story about Robert himself, it's very much Paso to be with your neighbors, right? And to work hand in hand with the guy next door, because you're all achieving and trying to achieve the same thing. It's not about your own brand. It's about Paso Robles. It's about the fruit that you're putting forth in the wine we want to make. And, like I said, I've been at Robert Hall only 3 months, but the very first winery I went to go taste since being back here was I went and saw Chris at Paris. I went and saw next door because it's, you got to know your neighbors. It's a Paso Robles tradition to know your neighbors and to send people down the road, because that is who we are. And it's very endearing to the community spirit that exists in Paso Robles.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's
Sets
definitely
us apart. Every time we bring journalists, every time we bring trade here, I think that's what they find, this genuineness that this region has. But it's also the consumer. I mean, they can feel it, they know it. They're not dumb. they know that some brands are going to be cool with other brands, and how you maybe refer each other to other places and the like. I mean, the fact that you drink each other's wines, and which we're going to get into wine here in a second. I know that we probably have a few people out there, Steve Hewitt in particular, watching from Columbus, Ohio, probably wants to know what we're drinking. So shout out, Steve. But we'll get there. But yeah, that's kind of the deal here is that's how Paso works as a region, right?
I can tell you that.
Go
As I
ahead.
say, I can tell you with guests in the hospitality side of things, when you're talking to a guest and they're sitting there smiling, and you're like, and you can see it in their face, and you're talking to them, and they're like, I don't know what it is. You ask them, like, why are you so happy? And like, I don't know. I can't pinpoint it. And my answer to them always, it's because you're in Paso, right? You're in Paso Robles. And you're like, you know what? You're right. There's just something about this place. It's not an individual thing. It is the general energy that exists when you visit people, and the genuineness that exists, that it's almost a shock to them, because a lot of people, especially, LA and San Francisco, no disrespect to big cities, but they don't get that feeling all the time. Right. And so when they're here, they're smiling and they don't even know why. And then you go, it's Paso, and they go, it sits in. And then it's one of the reasons why I love this place so much and why I call it home.
Yeah, I think there's a wine for everybody here. Truly, there really is. There's a flavor and there's a wine. There's something. Not everybody is made the same, and if we were, we'd be robots. It would be a Stepford Wives thing, and life would suck, to be perfectly honest. So I think that's what I feel like every time we do one of these shows, which I don't remember what show we're on. We're 60 something or another. But it always seems like we end up here where we're talking about how awesome it is to be in this community. I do want to talk about wine before we run out of time, because that's not far away. Lance, you have a bottle front and center. I'm going to start with you, man. That's the Fat Boy Zinfandel that you're drinking in that red label. I will tell you guys also, the other day, Claire was so nice. Yesterday was my birthday, and so they wanted to send over a bottle of wine. So they also sent me a Tobin James, and I'm drinking a Tanat, the Palindrome. But I want you to, Lance, talk a little bit about that wine, but talk a little bit about what's going on in Tobin James as far as a wine philosophy. And then we're going to go to Chris and then over to Houston and kind of do the same thing. We've got about 15 minutes left on our show, and we can circle back to our topic as well. But Lance, go for it.
Okay, quickly, we make 40 different wines. Most of them are pretty much full throttle wines, but we do have a nice, assortment of, very elegant and food-friendly wines that we just want to have a little something for everybody. We've been so fortunate that we have not had to submit our wines for scores to any critics for the last 20-something years. All our wines are sold out. We are blessed with what we think is maybe the largest wine club in the world. We have over 31,000 members now and growing. So that is our score. Our club members take care of us by recommending us to friends, and we don't have to get scores. That being said, Fat Boys Inn, which has become one of our club shipment favorites, and in the tasting room, Vino, the world's largest wine company, can't control that. That you're going to get a rating on that no matter what, because that's consumer driven. And out of 40 to 50 million users that we have on it, this Zin has been in the top 10 10 straight years, and 2 years ago it was number one. We were over the most famous wineries that have been making Zin since the beginning of time, and it really just makes us feel wow. We really are putting Paso Robles. We're the only Paso Zin in that top 10. So Fat Boy, just one of our flagship Zins. It's like the name says, it's like that kid that your best friend in elementary school. He was fat, obnoxious, but always loved, right? And kind of oversized.
Stop talking about me, Lance.
Always loved.
Awesome. That's rad. why palindrome for this Tannat, which I want to talk about this Tannat real quick. Actually, let me jump in here real quick. So, okay, this Tannat, this thing has got so much body and earth and just fruit forwardness. It's got like almost like a blood orange without the sweet, if you will, if that makes sense to you guys. It's because it has this kind of depth to it that is really really wonderful but so incredibly voluptuous as well. There's a big roundness to the mouth that I've had already with this wine. I'm truly enjoying it, and thank you so much for sending it over to the office. I really appreciate it. I definitely want a big fat steak with this thing. Truly, I want something with a little char on it because that just is going to make life truly wonderful. That's probably not going to happen. I need to tell everybody that's probably not going to happen. I'm probably going to drink this wine as is. A little later, I'll probably finish it. We've already had a couple people in the office come in and sneak some away as well. So there's not going to be a lot left anyway for later. But thank you so much, Lance and Claire, for sharing this wine with me. I really appreciate it. Houston,
Yeah,
what are you sipping on?
I've actually been going back and forth. I've been drinking a wine this whole time because I feel personally, quick backstory. There was a point 15 years ago that I was selling wines out of South America in the United States. And I became inherently in love with Malbec. And for me, I think Malbec is a very underrated varietal in Paso Robles. I think the heat in Paso can get the Malbec grape to ripen properly, but maintain the acidity. And the blue, lavender, violet gorgeousness of Malbec can shine like crazy in Paso Robles. So I'm actually drinking Paris Valley's Malbec 2017.
That's rad.
When I was at Blake's place, not but a month and a half ago, I told him this was my favorite wine that's there. And today, as I was digging through my office, I found this and I was like, heck yeah, I'm so excited to drink that. That's delicious. Totally check it out because it's awesome. To me, Malbec is amazing in Paso Robles. So if you ever see one, drink it. But then something else that I'm drinking that I think is super cool is a varietal that you don't always hear of in Paso. It's Carignan or Carignan in the Spanish side of things. This is our Cavern Select. So the big thing too, that a lot of people don't understand about Robert Hall is that when you go to Albertsons, you go to your chain store and you see Robert Hall on the shelf, we call that our core label. That is, 85% of our production. But those wines are not what you taste when you come to the winery. When you come to the winery, you taste our Cavern Select series, which are these silver labels. These are only in the winery. They are awesome because they highlight the argument, as Lance said, sourcing fruit. You can always, there's better fruit to be found out there sometimes than what you can grow. And we find some amazing varieties and have some amazing partners. This actually comes from the Paper Street Vineyard, as you know.
Nice.
And shout out to the Duceys for all they do. We get Zen from them as well. But 100% Carignan. We're pouring this in the tasting room currently. For me, it is my favorite wine that we're pouring at the moment by far. There's a brambleberry, briar patch brightness of fruit that shines through with all this acidity and herbal quality that I just absolutely love. And so I encourage people when they come here to sometimes have an open mind, that when they come to Robert Hall, to not think of the wines at the store, as much as we appreciate their business and we thank them for that, but to come explore and experience the freedom we've given our winemakers to go and play with some really cool fruit. I mean, this is 250 cases produced versus our core cab is, thousands of cases produced. It really allowed Don Brady, who, if you don't know Don, is a shining example of the most amazing winemaker in the world. I can't talk enough about Don and his nature. He comes from Texas. He is just the most down-to-earth, humble man, and he makes such world-class wines. It's crazy. And then Amanda, who is this vibrant young, she joined us in 2016, winemaker in 2019, and she's bringing this whole new vision and thought process. And it's a great counterbalance to Don, right? The young and the old, and Don's going to kill me for saying old.
I was just gonna say.
I know Don's going to kill me for saying old.
You know what's really funny, Houston, is we had Amanda on our
Yeah,
millennial
I know you did.
show, right?
Right.
If you got the chance to see that one, but that was
I did. She told me that to not watch it because she was very embarrassed. But anyway, it's Amanda. She's so humble too. But to have them be able to take what they do on a day-to-day basis and apply it to something as fun as Carignan, I think it's awesome. It shows the breadth of the winemaking skill, what they can do in the facility. And again, every day you come into Robert Hall, there's something new, right? Because we make so many different wines. We don't make 40. You can't catch up with Tobin, but we make we make about 16 to 18 a year. There's a wide breadth of wines. There's a shout out to something that some of you, I don't know if you even know, Chris. We make sparkling.
oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. It's because it's brand new. Don't come tomorrow and ask for sparkling. It's not available. We're disgorging a bunch in November.
Lance and I were coming over tomorrow anyway.
I know. By November, there'll be a lot more sparkling available, and it's a program we're very proud about and is being fully embraced by the Robert Hall team. So that's what I'm drinking: some Paris Valley Malbec, some Robert Hall Carignan, 2 great wines. Malbec, awesome.
Bitchin'.
Grown varieties, awesome. Drink stuff.
Rad, dude. Thanks, Chris Blake. Hey, I got a little quick shout out to Paris.
Hold on, time out. What are you drinking? What are you drinking of mine?
I'm not drinking yours.
Why not? That's bullshit.
Well, because Claire sent wine over. Claire Silver was thoughtful enough to do that.
I apologize. I don't have a Claire Silver in my back pocket that I can ship stuff to you.
Chris Blake, I recently tasted the Merlot that you guys do that changed my mind on Merlot. I feel like, honestly, I'm not kidding you. Like, it's not like I hate Merlot. I'm not a Merlot hater, people. Okay.
Okay, sideways.
But I'll tell you what, though, because I blind tasted it. I set up a blind tasting for a thing, people. It's just a thing that we did. Okay. Anyway, blind tasted it. I scored it. I think I gave it like an 8 in my 1 through 10 category, and because it really did stand out. And even though I set it up, I honestly I tried my best to make sure like it was like I extracted myself from it and everything. It was delicious, dude. That was really good. I don't know where that fruit came from, but really good. Hats off. What are you drinking?
Well, I was, that Merlot it's something that, we're really proud of. And, Doug Heidinger, our winemaker here at Paris Valley Road, we had somebody in a couple of weeks ago and, we were kind of wrapping up the time and he was going to pour the last wine. And he's like, what do I pour? I'm like, winemaker choice, man. What are you going to do? And he's like, all right, I'm going to go get the Merlot. And it's a wine that he's particularly proud of. And all that comes from we have a vineyard over in the El Pomar sub-AVA, over there, right next to the El Pomar Junction.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. So love it. That vineyard went in 2001. And that's really when the Stollers got going over there. So that's where that Merlot is coming from. And kind of what Lance and Houston are both talking about. I mean, that's the thing. So many varietals do really well here, and that's really the Stollers, background is in the nursery business, right? So when Craig got going over there, that was the first vineyard we planted here in Paso Robles, was that one over in the El Pomar sub-AVA. I think we have 27 varietals on 90 some acres planted. And it's like, we have just enough of a whole lot to make a whole lot of nothing, right? It's like, we just have like a little bit of acre of this, half acre of that. I mean, we're growing, Saint Macaire, which is a Lobs Bordeaux varietal. We're growing Marcelon and, Verdejo and Caladoc and, Craig, much like, so many different winemakers around here, loves absolutely unique stuff that he can get his hands on and, plant it and that, and then wait for 5 to 6 years to see if it's actually going to turn out to be any good. So that's a good delayed gratification process. But no, I'm actually going, I'm drinking double Malbecs here.
Yeah.
So I got Malbec Rosé and I'm going with the same 17 Malbec that Houston has just down the street. But
cheers.
All Bordeaux lineups over here. We got Cab Franc, Petit Verdot, saying we got a 2018 sparkling that we're really proud of that came out wonderful and people really enjoy when they come by. So our Malbec Rosé, kind of crazy, wild, electric color. And man, I'll tell you what, it's one of my favorite wines that we make here. So, again, we're going to grow, that's always the new part. You're opening a new property, it's like, okay, we bought the property. We need to get some wines. Like, oh, geez. So, we have 11 wines right now. And trust me, with Craig Stoller's brain at the helm, there are 20 more to go. So we'll be all right in the long term. But really excited for what's and excited for Doug Heidinger, our winemaker here. Just really, really talented guy. And we're in good hands on the wine front here at Paris Valley Road.
Awesome. That's cool. You guys, if you can believe it, we've got 4 minutes left in the show. We're already nearing the end of the Paso Wine Hour after an hour. I want to make sure we get a chance that each of you get to talk a little bit about if there's something coming up soon. Do you have an event? Do you have something that you want to be able to share with everybody? I want to hear about it. And I'm going to toss it to Houston first. Houston, what anything coming up really soon?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting actually. So we have a October 15th Harvest Festival weekend, that Friday evening, a inaugural launch of Reserve Cabernet. So Don Brady, who obviously has been here forever and is this Cabernet guy, our 2017 Reserve Cabernet inaugural launch to sort of celebrate him doing 20 vintages with us so far, is being launched that day. We've never had it before. It is a total of 165 six packs. So not even 1,000 bottles total. So super, super small. Being released that evening. We have a wonderful event that night, 4:30 to 7. The Brass Factory is going to be here to perform. And it's all about that wine though. And that Cabernet, I had it the other night, and I can tell you, in sort of the pantheon of great wines in California, the Ridge Montebello series of cabs are always up there. They're some of the greatest California cabs. This wine is on par with that. The first thing, everything I get out of that wine, to me, it's heritage cab from California, more than big, modern, syrupy, rich cab. It's definitely historic. It's definitely round and robust and strong. We've actually had it in bottle for a year. That's one thing we wanted to do, was make sure it was a year in bottle before releasing. We're very proud of it. It's a new lineup item for us. Super, super small production, so I don't expect it to last very long. So Harvest Festival weekend, please come out and join us that evening for the celebration of that wine. We will be pouring it throughout the weekend as well. So come enjoy.
Excuse me, sorry.
Cabernet that we're very proud of.
Awesome, dude. That is really cool. I know that during that time, you guys are going to be hosting a few influencers and
a few things.
Yeah, I'm working with your PR agency right now to give them some added experiences out there while they're in Paso wine country. So I know that's a really special event, especially with the people behind Calhoun and Company, Kati and all, and
yeah.
They're doing some good work over there, so that's awesome. It's rad.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very, very proud of the wine, and we really hope that people are as receptive as we are to it, because it's pretty darn special. And when I think of great Paso Robles Cabernets and California Cabernets, I really feel it's up there, and it's something that we're very proud of.
Awesome. Good on you. Lance, what's happening at Tobin James? You guys have some of the best events out there ever. But what you got going on anytime soon?
Well, the 2-year pandemic hiatus, we canceled everything this year and last year. We were in the middle in March. Our biggest event of the year is our James Gang Festival. It's 2 nights, Friday and Saturday. It's a couple thousand people each night, 25 restaurants, caterers, 4 bands playing at the same time. So that will resume if
in 2022.
Yeah, we are selling tickets now for that in March. It'll be 3 years since the last one, and we're going to throw a huge bash, and then our 35th anniversary party will be in June. We are flying in from Toronto the greatest Journey cover band and Def Leppard band, and we're just gonna bring the place down. Probably expecting 2,000 or 3,000 people to that one, along with great food. Got a whole summer series of parties, trying to make up for lost time.
Yeah. I love it. I've been to the James Gang party, and I know how you have chefs all over the place. Just a thought, I'm just throwing this out at you, is since you're bringing a band down from Toronto, maybe you can bring a caterer down that will do some super legit poutine. What do you think?
Yeah, I haven't had any good poutine unless it's from there.
That would be rad. Thanks, Lance. Chris,
I'm gonna step in
Blake.
real quick. Hold on, before
Yeah.
Chris. Funny enough, on the 25th, our food menu, if you don't know, Robert Hall has a big culinary menu. We have Paso poutine coming to the menu on the 25th this month, with a Paso twist of sort of pulled pork over fries with poutine gravy and cheese curd. So come on by and get your fill.
Okay.
So lame. Thanks, Toronto. That was all like, okay.
Okay. I will. No, I will. I'm down. I'm totally in. I love poutine. Chris, Blake.
No, we'll do the same thing. Harvest Wine Weekend coming up mid-October. Now, Friday night, we're gonna have some fun hosting. We have a big lawn outside the tasting room where, showing. We figured we'd show a movie, pour some wine, serve some food. So we're gonna be showing a 1957 Audrey Hepburn funny face, and got picnics ready to go and some wine to go. So that'll be Friday night. Special flights, music, all that through the weekend, and then Saturday night, winemaker dinner here at the bar or at the here at the winery, and menu's incredible, all found online. You can go check it out. But gonna be a fun weekend, and yeah, just encourage folks to come out, stop by as you're stopping by the east side and enjoying Paso. Come by and see us, and it'll be fun.
Right on. That's cool. Well, you guys, it's been a fun hour. It flew by. Again, our premise was all about 46 East, but as you can see, we're Paso and we kind of digress on things. And after we get a little wine in us, we probably like to talk about other stuff besides what we're supposed to talk about. But I love it because these three brands, they have such great personality. All three are such anchors, if you will, to the Paso wine region. And I just, it's been a great conversation, and thank you. I look forward. Houston, Lance, Chris, cheers to you. I want to hopefully hang out with you, all three of you, one of these days soon. Drink a glass of wine and hang on. Everybody watching, thank you so much for tuning back into the Paso Wine Hour. Whether you're watching live or you're watching one of the recorded sessions, we really appreciate you tuning in and learning a little bit about the personality of Paso, because that's what the Paso Wine Hour is really all about. Next time around, which is in 2 weeks from now, we're probably going to be doing another one of those harvest checks. And I'm hoping that we can be doing something a little bit more kind of on location and hands-on. I'm working on that. It's just all about timing and all about some of the things that we've got going on, because like I've mentioned already, we've got media tours and we're traveling and we're, trying to do the work that we do at the Paso Wine Alliance. But we're going to try to make sure that we've got something special for you here in about 2 weeks. So thanks so much for joining in. Go to pasowine.com to see when the next show is going to be up. So it should be in about 2 weeks. Also, there's new podcasts out, pasowine.com, to check out Where Wine Takes You, the podcast. And check it out. I think the current one is currently out on Dow. And so if you guys want to check out that one, we did a nice extensive interview with Daniel Dow and talked a little bit about what's happening with the Dow brand, and also a new brand called Patrimony that they just put out there. So go to pasowine.com and you can check that out. And we will catch you next time. So thank you, Houston. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Chris. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. It was big fun. Thanks.